Welcome on in, golf fans. It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 2 preview for this week's Pebble Beach Pro-Am. We've been giving the morning crew a little bit of love for our live streams the last few weeks, but here back with the night crew for our round 2 stream. So welcome on in, whether you're around the world just kicking back, enjoying yourself after a long day, whether you're out there grinding, getting ready for PGA DFS tomorrow, ready to get after it for our round 2 action. So here in this live stream, going to preview what you need to know out there for Friday, whether you're playing DFS or over there on the prop side of things, to go out there and have yourself a day. We're going to try and do this in about a 30-minute live stream. So if you have any questions, make sure to go ahead and throw them down into chat, as we're going to try and move through things a little bit quicker than we typically do. So we'll start with a look at the golf course, the weather conditions for tomorrow, and then afterwards we'll talk some DFS, and then finally at the end, some of the stuff on the prop side. So let me go ahead, bring up the course averages from round 1, where we had a little bit of a switch up, and it's why I normally start my showdown process for round 2. It's why I avoid round 1 showdown. In most cases, every once in a while, I'll take a dabble on a round 1 showdown lineup, but the main reasoning is that you want to see what course is playing easier than the other, and the fact that the Spyglass Hill played a little bit easier than Pebble Beach isn't that outlandish. We've seen it a few times over the past 7 or 8 years in terms of scoring averages, but predominantly, right, Pebble Beach is where you see the lower scoring. There's a few reasons for that, one of which would be the longer rough at Pebble Beach this year. They grew it out to about 3.5 inches as opposed to 2 inches in years past. Which was pretty much non-existent, right? For the amateurs out there, they wanted to keep it as easy as humanly possible. And here in 2024, because of the elevated status, on ESPN Plus, they had the rules official on there, and he mentioned that that was something they wanted to do here because of that elevated status. So I think that's why Pebble Beach might be playing a little bit more difficult. Spyglass Hill, because it is a little bit more private, doesn't have nearly as many rounds played as what you have at the Pebble Beach. Normally does already have that longer rough. So maybe that's why we saw the scoring difference here for 2024. Could have also been that Spyglass is a little bit more inland, was sheltered from the wind a little bit out there. I think that's what a lot of people think out there with these course splits. But in either way, right, Spyglass looked a little bit easier than what you had with Pebble. If you looked at in terms of your ceiling performances, you'll see that it was predominantly guys on Spyglass. You had guys like Thomas Dietrich. A lot of your elite tier players played on Spyglass today. So another argument you could make is that the talent level of Spyglass was just a little bit higher than what you had on Pebble. And when we get to the DFS sheet, you'll see that almost the entire top end of the board, I think with the exception of like 3, maybe 4 players, all played on Spyglass for Thursday. So that probably had an effect. But look at some of the spike rounds here. And this is where I would counter against that argument. We have guys up there like an Emiliano Grillo, Thomas Dietrich, who's far from elite in a elevated field sort of scenario. Ricky Fowler out of no form playing well. Sam Burns, who started horribly, 2 over par through his first 6 holes, rallied to shoot a 68 when it was all said and done. Guys like Justin Rose, elite course history, right? You have your studs like a Scotty Scheffler, right? Hovland, who shot 3 under par, which was really solid for a round 1 showdown. But you had even players like Grillo, right, going out there and having your spike rounds. Over in Pebble Beach, you had guys like Pavon who had exceptional rounds themselves. Guys like a Siwoo Kim, Eric Cole, right, -4, Denny McCarthy, absolute stud. But a whole lot more yellow up here, whatever color this is that Data Golf's using now, over there for the Spyglass Hill course. So in terms of our showdown, I'm going to have guys from both courses. I do think that the scoring averages might equalize a little bit. I think that the Pebble Beach might play close to a little bit closer to like 1.2 under par. And I think that Spyglass Hill might play like a stroke and a half under par. The reasoning for that is all that top end talent, right, that played Spyglass today, it's going to go over to the Pebble Beach side, and vice versa, right? So when we go over to the DFS sheet, which we'll bring up here in a minute, you'll see just where all those top end guys are playing. That's going to have a little impact here on the scoring average. So I think the courses might play a little bit closer in terms of your scoring out there for round 2. but it's a little bit artificial out there just because of how strong one field is versus the other. I wouldn't say that Pebble Beach is going to play easier than Spyglass Hill, but I wouldn't throw it out of the realm of possibility, right? That's why I'm playing guys from both courses. Even today, right, we had guys from Pebble Beach that spiked for ceiling rounds. So I don't think you want to completely ignore both tracks, but you probably want to pick one to hunker down on, one to stack out there. If you wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to be waking up, checking the weather before I, lock there, right? See if I need to change anything up. If it is calmer than what they're calling for, which we're going to get to the weather here in 1 minute, actually we'll do it right now. It looks a little bit windy tomorrow. There's a little bit of rain early. So I think it's going to be, eerily reminiscent of what we had here for round one. If that, goes away, let's say that we wake up tomorrow morning and they're calling for next to no wind for the entire day, then maybe you hammer the Pebble Beach guys, right? Because the whole reason that Spyglass, quote unquote, played easier than it today was the rough, right, at Pebble Beach. So that was part of it. But the other part of it is that Spyglass was protected from the wind. And if you subscribe to that theory, right, and you wake up tomorrow and we have this weather forecast change, well, that's something that you can take advantage of. A lot of people are going to stack Spyglass. They see the scoring average over here, and they're going to flock to the guys playing the quote-unquote easier golf course. Again, I think it's going to play a little bit closer to what you see with Pebble Beach for round two. But your casual fan out there, your normal DFS player that does maybe like 5 minutes of research for round two Showdown is going to go see this 1.7 under par average and go, okay, I want guys from that course for round two. So though there's not a ton of names playing Spyglass towards the top end of the board, you're going to see a lot of people flock to those players. Just for the sake of going over this, especially from the prop side for later, you'll see that the wind gusts are in the same kind of range that we got today. So it's between like 8 and 11, 13 miles an hour for much of that day. And then in terms of your wind gusts, it's a little bit more significant, closer to like 15 to 19 mile an hour wind gusts, which is kind of what we saw in reality. They weren't calling for that for round one, but it is actually what we observed out there from the weather. So if it ends up coming out like this for Friday, this is the HRRR model. We'll look at NAM too, just for the sake of completion. You'll see maybe a little bit lower winds over here on NAM, but some pesky rain that's going to come through, which you saw today, right? You had it in the morning wave for a little bit. You also had it at the very end of play, quite a bit of rain actually. It came through for like the last 20, 25 minutes. It looks like it's going to be a carbon copy of what we had for today's action. So take that weather, copy and paste it out there for Friday. And I think that's pretty spot on with what you can expect. In terms of our DFS strategy, right, I'm still taking predominantly guys from the Spyglass course, but I think you're going to have people that lean into this edge a little bit too much, right, that see this 0.7 shot difference that I think is going to be like a 0.4, maybe a 0.5 shot difference out there for round two's action, which matters, right? You want to take that into consideration, especially when breaking ties, but I don't think you have to use it as your end-all be-all. So we'll leave it at that. That's it from the strategy angle in terms of our weather. And I have to say, guys, the morning crew, a lot more lively down in chat. Here with the PM crew, we're getting like, unless my comments are broken over here, no one's even said hi at this point. So if that's how it's going to be in the PM, we're just not going to stream. We're going to, reward the morning crew. They're always saying hi. We've got questions usually flooding the chat at this point. We've got 40 of you in here and nothing down there. It's I don't know. It's disappointing me a little bit. I wanted to give this PM crew a little bit of credit, and you guys are cricketing me out here. Like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Hey, if it's like this, I'm still going to do the stream for tonight. We're going to do the morning crew more often. I'll say that much because I don't think that's ever happened with those guys. Like, come on, let's get it going. I see the Peach down there now saying hi. You guys saying hi. What the heck are you guys doing? Hi, you're talking now. What the fuck are you guys doing there for like 10 minutes? Come on. All right, let's talk through some of my top plays. So like I said, I want to get this going quickly. So if you have any questions, especially for the DFS angle, throw them down in chat now. What I'm going to do for DFS in my preview here is go through some of my top plays. So I've got one play in every price range that I'm considering for the slate. I think it's 110K, 19, 18, 2 in the 7s and 2s in the 6. Essentially to give you an idea of the types of players we're getting to. So all of the ownership is going to be up here. We'll kind of talk through that as we go range by range, but mostly going to focus on a few key players. And up top, you don't have many Spyglass guys to choose from, right? So we've got Xander Schauffele at 10-2, right? Current score +1. A lot of that because he had to hit 3 tee shots off of hole number 18. But over here at 12.1% ownership, like, I like the fact that he's going to look like he had a bad round, right? It looks like he shot a +1 out there. He was -2 standing on the last tee box on a hole that was playing half a shot under par, right? So realistically, probably should have finished at -3 and went out there and completely threw his round away, which sucks, right? Especially if you have him for like a round 1 showdown or you played him like as an outright, that sort of thing. Luckily, not something that I did. But for round 2 showdown, look at the ownership number, right? Oh, my contact is killing me over here. I've got him at 12.1%. So compared to the rest of the range, right, that's at like a 20% number. You're getting a little bit of ownership leverage there. And on top of that, a player playing the quote unquote easier golf course. So there are still other guys in the 10K range I'm considering. So actually one of them, right, that's playing Pebble Beach up here in the top 3 is still going to be in my player pool. But the one I'm getting the most exposure to, and then I'm definitely going to have the most leverage to, is over there with the Xander Schauffele. So I'm taking a look at that, considering that for my exposure, especially in single entries. I think you might see him at like 10, maybe even sub 10% ownership over there in those type of contests. And in terms of your projected points, I have it as about a 2-3 point spread from Spyglass compared to Pebble Beach. So it's not crazy, right? Like I said, maybe a half a stroke difference between the two golf courses, but at $10,200, he was already projecting for solid points per dollar value. But when I adjusted for the course fit, as I did for everything in my projections, he went to like by far the best play on the slate. So I like the ownership. I like the fact that his round was so misleading. And I'm sure a lot of people watched it, right? Probably know about that last round blow up. But you'll have people that are building lineups on the toilet tonight, right? That didn't watch the action, right? That maybe didn't see the end of it. Out there with Xander Schauffele that see, oh, +1, you had a horrible day. I don't want to back that, right? Maybe they don't even know that about the Spyglass versus Pebble thing, right? They're just like a full-on casual. They're going to click the guys here at like -3, right? Scotty Scheffler, Victor Hovland, right, are going to get some attention. Justin Thomas down here in the 9K range, right, is going to be a little bit chalky. Cantlay for sure, right, with his -8 round. No one's going to click on Xander Schauffele. That's a complete casual. So you're going to get a discount there from the ownership perspective, which is why I love Showdown so much, right? And having these ownership projections to rely on. I've worked really hard on my algorithm, right, to make them as accurate as humanly possible. And what I really like about, having these projections is that it's all very predictive. So at least for rounds 2 and 3 showdown, it's some of the predictive, most predictive ownership, I should say, that we have out there for my algorithm. Round 4 showdown gets a little bit wonky because it is so damn polarized. Like I'll project, for example, like the guy in the lead, right? If there's a stud in the lead or near the lead out there in a golf tournament, a lot of times, like my algorithm, I'll put them out at like 40%. And in large field GPP, it'll be like 65% owned. So for round 4 showdown, the projections need a little bit of work. That's self-admitted right there. But for rounds 2 and 3, these ownership projections are absolute money. And I 12.1% on Xander. I'm absolutely looking forward to that. I'm playing a little bit of a chalky Max Homa here. So you'll see, right, we don't have a lot of options over here on Spyglass. So you've got Xander up here. You've also got Max Homa and Colin Morikawa, which is why I don't think you should only play Spyglass, guys. You're going to have one of these Pebble Beach players go out there and have a solid day. And if you compare the birdie averages, which of course is going to be a topic when we get to props here in about 5-10 minutes, but they were almost identical. You had about a 4 birdie average for both golf courses. The difference was that you had more bogeys being made on Pebble Beach, which is normally the opposite. Normally you have more bogeys being made over there at Spyglass, but a whopping 2.9 bogeys per round were being made over there at Pebble Beach. So you can still have a ceiling round, right? If you avoid those bogeys, you're still going to have all the birdies out there to go out there and post a low number. It's just a little bit harder to come by, right? That's why you saw about 65, maybe 70% of the ceiling rounds coming from over there on Spyglass. So be selective about the guys that you're mixing in over there on Pebble. And for me personally, it's either first off players that are world class. I don't want to give away who I'm taking as like the stud up there, but that probably gave it away. Just somebody that would transcend, right, any sort of like bad golf course and that you've seen it before, or a player that has good course history. So like for, I think the like 5 or 6 other players other than the 10K guy that I'm taking, it's all guys that just have a really good track record at Pebble Beach. So whether it's like a past champion, a lot of them, I think 2 of those 6 are past champions. It's a lot of guys who have top 5s around here, or that lived on the golf course before. In the case of one of them, one of the guys I'm taking that's playing Pebble Beach, It's that kind of narrative that I would force me onto a Pebble Beach player. So a lot of my exposure is over here on Spyglass. And the second guy I'll bring up here is Max Homa, $9,200. Now he's going to be a little bit chalky at 22.5%. Had a good round at -3, right? That's why he's getting that kind of attention. But what I like about Max Homa is that he continues to stripe the dang golf ball. He's done that, again, for the last 6 months. It's becoming just a little bit of a cliche at this point, right? Talking about Homa's game. But the putter still hasn't gone fire hot. Like it's been decent, right? It was okay out there for round 1, but he's yet to go out there and truly have that spike round. So I'm just waiting on that. I think for Showdown, it has a lot of intrigue. And if I'm going to play a chalky player, it's going to be the one on the golf course that has the perceived advantage. So I don't love the ownership. I'm definitely going to have to work around that when I'm building some lineups. But if I'm starting with the Xander, which I will for, again, a lot of my exposure for tomorrow, if I mix in Max Homa, like it's okay, right? I've got a pivot up top. I'm going to have pivots down there in the 7K range. I'll be just fine in terms of my differentiation. In terms of some of your chalk, you've also got a lot of ownership on Cantlay, right? That's pretty obvious with how he played. Some over there in Colmore Kaba too, who's another Spyglass Hill guy, which I'm eating that chalk, right? He's another player that I'm getting to in my player pool, which you probably could have guessed, right? With how heavy I'm going on that golf course. We've got Tony Finau in this range, Matt Fitzpatrick, Sanjay, all players playing on Spyglass. And the one that I want to focus on here for the sake of this live stream, this preview out here for round 2, is Sanjay at $8,400. He's 12.2% owned. Obviously, world-class, right? I would say a decent points per dollar value, right? $8,400 is very fair for Sanjay M. If not a value, I would venture to say out there at that price. Playing Spyglass like we're hoping for, it made a bunch of birdies today, but also made a ton of mistakes. So was extremely volatile, which is okay for Showdown, right? We just need guys to make 5-6 birdies. Playing the easier golf course and at maybe not low ownership, right? 12.2% is still pretty average for this range. In fact, I think he's like the second highest owned player over there in the 8K range, but it's low enough for me to eat on the perceived course with the edge. And some of the guys on Spyglass, it's worth noting that I have them with a little bit of an ownership bump too. It's not uniform across the entire player pool like I did. I'm out there for projected points, but it's sizable. Like somebody like Max Homa, right, goes from about like a 20% ownership projection to like a 22.5% ownership projection. Gets a sizable bump because of the golf course that he's playing. So a lot of that, just giving credit to the community out there, right? People are catching on, right? Doing more research when building their lineups. It's not everyone. It's I would say still like only like half the field probably that's doing their proper research. Maybe probably even less than that. Probably only like a quarter if we're being fully transparent. But still, it's enough of the field, right? That's going to impact ownership a little bit. And you'll see guys like Sanjay get a little bit of a bump there. So still at 12.2%. I think there's, a little bit of room there to get some leverage. I'm on a player that I like there in the 8K. In terms of your chalk, there's not much down here in the 8Ks. In fact, your highest owned player, I've got Tommy Fleetwood. I've got it 13.2%. Highest owned would be Matt Fitzpatrick at 14.1. Nothing that's too outrageous. Down here in the 7s, ownership gets a little condensed, especially around guys like an Eric Cole at 18%. Justin Rose, Denny McCarthy are chalky at like 13, 14% ownership respectively. The kind of guys I prefer are ownership discounts, right? On like a Tom Kim, right? Only $7,800. Played okay round 1, right? He played a slightly better than the field average over there at Pebble Beach. Now heads to Spyglass where the scoring average was nearly 2 under par, is only 7.2% owned. I got Bo Hostler, right, who had a flashy day around him. I'm playing Pebble, though, right? Eric Cole, who's getting a lot of that ownership, right, is why we're getting such a low-owned Tom Kim, because he shot -4, right, over there at Pebble Beach. And I love myself some Eric Cole. You guys know, like, I play him every single main slate. But, like, if we're just doing a one-on-one comparison, Tom Kim is the way better play, right? He's half the ownership. He's a better player than Eric Cole. And again, I love myself some Eric Cole, right? But Tom Kim's a better player than Eric Cole is. And you're getting him at a much better ownership number and essentially the same price tag on the better golf course. Both on the better golf course, right? That's why Eric Cole's getting a lot of attention over here. That's why I really like somebody like Tom Kim for differentiation. So if we're taking a chalky Max Homa, for example, right, and we're pairing him up here with like a Xander Schauffele, if we added in somebody like a Tom Kim at 7.2%, we take one more player, down low. Maybe it's Nick Taylor at 5.5%. We'll talk about him or a Tom Hoagie, perhaps, at 4.1%. Who's the one Pebble Beach guy we're going to talk up here on this live stream. If you add in somebody at sub 5% on top of that, your lineup is more than different enough. In fact, you could probably take another piece of chalk if you wanted to. So it's not that different. It's not that difficult, I should say, to get different on this kind of slate. And those are a few of the players that I'll use to do that. Let's see. Any questions on the top end of the board? Yeah, we'll be doing live thoughts for sure, and go over some of the props on that end. Where's my cat? I don't think she's in the room right now. It's a good question though. She was in it before. If you see her hop up behind me, let me know. Do I think Griffin will bounce back? So Ben Griffin, not sure. I didn't play him this week, and I kind of get why he didn't play well. He's just, you play him at his tracks, right? And I don't think he's known for playing well at this golf course. What did he do his first year here? This will give you an answer, because I want to know how he played here back in 2023. So Ben Griffin, where are you at? He missed the cut last year, and he missed the cut 4 years ago. Yeah, that worries me, right? He has his tracks, and it's not one of his tracks. Did I see Keith repping his cashmere in the pouring rain? I did. He looked a little silly, huh? But hey, it's high fashion, that's for sure. You punched Siwoo, Rory, Hovland, Kim, and Griffin. Okay. You're looking good on like 4 of those 6 players there. So, okay. Hey, G, what's going on, Rowland? You say, so as of now, we're seeing wind and rain to start round 2, but possibility wind could change tomorrow. Yes, exactly. So it looks very similar to round 1. Your forecast, if it bears out per the forecast, is going to be almost a carbon copy of round 1. The one thing I'll say is that the forecast changed quite a bit this morning. I'm out there for this golf tournament. I mean, we looked at the forecast this morning in the Discord, and it changed like an hour later. So you're going to have to check in the morning. So if you're somebody that's on the East Coast, right, that's real easy to do, right? Golf doesn't start till like midday. If you're on the West Coast, you might want to wake up like an hour earlier and just double check on that. If it looks like the wind jumps down, the SparkNotes version is that Pebble Beach is more playable. It'll be a lot lower scoring over there. Hubbard over Smalley and Day over Clark. Do I like those? I would say the first one's a 50-50. So I almost don't have a lean on the first one. So that's tough. I would scratch that. The second one, you've got Day over Clark. I like that. Yes. Day over Clark because you got the course history angle with Jason Day. And Jason Day looked pretty decent today. And Luke List. Yeah, List, shaky start, but he could bounce back, right? There's no cut this week, which is great. Thoughts on Rory? He's back, his back 9. I have a love-hate relationship with Rory. When he was talking all the crap about Liv, and I'm not a Liv apologist by any means, but I'm also very open to watching and some of the ideas they have. In fact, I'm one of the few people that likes the team aspect of it, mostly because I've been to the team championship the last 2 years, which is by far the most involved that part of the league is. So like, they got to get it more involved for your everyday event, but the team championships are pretty damn awesome. So when he was talking mad shit out there about it, I mean, I was just like rolling my eyes, right? I was like, okay, this guy's shilling for company. Like you'll see for any politician out there, right? You just like roll your eyes, right? You're like, okay, like, wow, like tell the truth. Now that he's kind of retracted some of that, and like he's gone down his middle ground, he's given his actual stance, much more respect to him. So I didn't bet on him. I didn't bet against him today. I got much less pleasure from seeing him play bad today than I have in the past. When he had given up like the U.S. Open and stuff and the Open Championship, I wasn't that upset about it. Let's just say that much. What is my prize pick strategy for 2-man power plays? Not always. No, like for round 2, I've already entered a 5-man over an underdog. So it kind of depends, Kyle. A lot of times I do 2-mans just because I try and target some value props that I have at like a 60-65% hit rate. And for 2-mans, that's pretty efficient. Seems pretty even scoring between the 2 courses today. Am I surprised by that? Normally, Pebble Beach plays easier, and for round 1, it played harder. So, yeah, I am surprised by that. I wouldn't really say they played evenly. I mean, a 0.7 shot difference is pretty significant between the 2 golf courses, but I am surprised that Spyglass played easier. That's not typical. In fact, just to show you guys what I'm talking about, I'll go ahead and bring up data golf like year by year at Pebble Beach. We're not going to spend much time on this because I want to hop over to props here. I've got something to do here at 9, which is in 5 minutes, but we'll go over time. It's okay. We'll fit it in. I'll show you guys. Yeah, it was surprising. That's for damn sure. Absolutely. So you'll see at Pebble Beach Golf Links, right? Last year it played minus 0.38, right? Spyglass Hill plus 0.8. Back here in 2022, Pebble minus 1.3, Spyglass over par, right? 2021, I think they didn't play it. Yeah, actually they did, right? They didn't play Monterey back there in 2021, right? Pebble under par, Spyglass over par. 2020, right? Pebble over par, but Spyglass even more over par. 2019, Pebble over par, Spyglass under par. So you have to go the whole way back to 2019 to get the kind of conditions that we saw this week. And again, yeah, a little bit surprising for sure. I would agree with that. All right, a few other 6K players I'm going to go through, and then we're going to go through our prop plays. So if you have any DFS questions, any players you want me to take on, go ahead, throw it down in chat right now, because afterwards we're going to talk through prize picks and underdog. So I know we had a question about that. We'll talk about that in full detail here in a few minutes. But Nick Taylor, like towards the bottom end of the sevens. So here at 5.5% projected ownership, you got to like the Spyglass course. Again, I think maybe a slight advantage. Nothing crazy out there, but I definitely lean that golf course on a lot of my plays. What I like is the course history, right? Nick Taylor's played this golf course a lot. He's won Pebble Beach before, has had a lot of success in the past at Spyglass specifically. So if you take a look at some of his ceiling rounds, some of the rounds where he's gone deep into the 60s, and some of his best finishes at Pebble, it's been at Spyglass where he's done a lot of that damage, which is surprising. And looking at some of that course history, and seeing that it is the most difficult out of the golf courses. So like that for Nick Taylor. I think he's a sleeper play because of how well he's played at Spyglass specifically. You've got Tom Hoge. He's a Pebble Beach player we're taking at 4.1%. So I know I mentioned before that I am taking a few players from Pebble, and it's the elite course history guys, right? Like a Tom Hoge I'm considering. So I like the ownership there. I like the fact that he throws darts and historically has done a lot of his damage at Pebble Beach. So if in the past, like when he won the golf tournament, for example, it was a 3-course rotation. A lot of the times where he's gone low, right, gone deep into the 60s, have kind of like Nick Taylor also been, in this case, at Pebble Beach, right? So, his version of Spyglass Hill, right, out there for Nick Taylor is what we have with Pebble Beach and Tom Hoge. He came from behind in his victory, right, went out there, posted a pretty low round. So not afraid to go out there and take aim at pins, even with pretty windy conditions. Our last play we're going to go through on the stream is Mav McNeely at $6,300, playing Spyglass and has played this course, Spyglass, a whole ton too. Grew up playing a lot of Pebble Beach. I'm sure has played pretty much every course on the peninsula nonstop since he was growing up. And what I like about it is that he's starting to get back to the old Maverick McNeely, who's volatile as hell. He makes a ton of birdies, but usually mixing in like 3-4 bogeys per round, which isn't great, right? He's actually one of the higher bogey percentage players we have on the PGA Tour, but is also maybe the best putter in the world. He's up there with a Denny McCarthy for that kind of throne. There's a few other guys that, right, from time to time get hot, right, and will gain close to a stroke per round. But McNeely, who is it? It's Montgomery, the other one, I think it's Taylor Montgomery, right, is the other one that gains like over a stroke per round. There's not many on tour that can do that routinely, right? Go out there and gain over a stroke per round. And in the Showdown format, when you have somebody that's aggressive, makes a bunch of birdies, is also playing the good golf course, I think that he's worth taking as a punt at $6,300. Of course, it's not really just who you're buying, right? With somebody down here at $6,300, it's what it buys you up top, right? By taking somebody like him, maybe you can take Xander, mix in one of these guys on Pebble up there in the 10, 11K range, and have some fun with that. So there's a lot of lineup construction that you can open up with taking a Maverick Neely. And there's actually a few guys down here that I'm considering. I would say the pricing for round 2 Showdown, the pricing in general this week was really soft with some of the 6K players. And for round 2 Showdown, it's even more so the case. It's just some guys down here that should not be in the 6K range. And it's just because we have such a strong field, right? This elevated field is going to give us some pretty wonky pricing. And like guys like Luke List, right? We're 9K golfers over there in the fall swing, 10K even, I think, for one event over there. Now he's $6,500, right? So like there's a lot of guys you can take for some ownership and salary savings, I should say, towards the bottom end of the board here. Let's see. Any questions we need to go over? If not, we're going to talk props. Let's see. Day is minus 130 and Hubbard is minus 135. Kind of shocking. I could see Day being minus 130. Agree with that. Hubbard being minus 135. That's a lot of juice. I don't know. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate your modest operandi. Of course, always detailed and on point. Appreciate it, man. So shots gained, play 4 guys with 2 from Pebble Beach. So you're saying for Spyglass Hill, right, to play 4 guys, not shots gained, sorry, and then 2 from Pebble Beach. I mean, I don't think you need to lock into a certain lineup construction. I think that's kind of overdoing it. I think that your player pool should be like 2/3, 1/3, right? So I think like in general, right, that kind of ratio makes sense, but I don't think you have to force in that kind of build, right? Either. So if you want to go with some 6-0s, try and correlate it, you can. Maybe you want to take a stance that you think Pebble Beach plays easier for round 2, which I don't think there's a lot of evidence for that. But if you wanted to, right, you could go out there and take a stack of 6 players. So kind of just like a main slate, you can go out there and take that approach. You could do that for Showdown as well. Playing any Sahith, let me double check on that for you. I believe so, but let me check my sheet and give you a straight answer. Let's see. It's pretty cheap. No, but that might change. I might by the time we get to lock, and I might update that over there in Patreon. So as of right now, no, I don't have him in the poll. There's a few guys I like a little bit more around him, but I think he's a decent play. Always is. Let me see what golf course he's on. He's playing Pebble Beach. Yeah, that's why I'm not playing him. Yeah, because he's playing at Pebble Beach. That's my main issue, I guess. Finau, or Morikawa. I need to pick one. I would go with Morikawa, right? If you can spend the salary, I guess it's might be a different format that you're talking about, but yeah, Morikawa. If you don't have to worry about salary, any of that fun stuff. All right, let's talk some props. So let's hop over to we'll do Underdog first, then we'll talk about some prize picks after. Got an Underdog board first. Actually, I got already a slip in there already. And prize picks actually dropped just before we went live. So I was able to look at it a little bit. I think we had like 5-10 minutes before I went live here, before we had to go live. Let's see what we're doing over here in Underdog, because I've already entered 5 props. So there's going to be a lot of value that we can lock in. And I think some overs and some unders that we can take. So I think there's some stances for players, some stances against players that are going to make sense. A lot of because of the scoring averages that we had for round 1. So let me go ahead and actually, let me see if I can do this without showing you guys the slip, right? Because I don't want to leak all 5 of the plays, but I want to show you guys the scoring averages. I think I can make it work. There we go. I can. So let me go ahead and share this. Here are the scoring averages from about like 25 minutes before play ended. So let me see if this is showing up. All right, it's tiny. I apologize out there. I'm going to read it out to you in case you can't see it there. Spyglass had about a 4 birdie average. It was 4.04, only 2.26 bogeys per round. So Spyglass played significantly easier, mostly because there weren't as many bogeys made. It was a lot easier to get up and down and whatnot. At Pebble Beach, the birdie average was slightly lower. But your bogey average was most significantly higher, right? It was about like 0.6, 0.7 higher per round. And the scoring average reflected that, right? It was minus 1.66 at that time, as opposed to minus 0.96. I think both scoring averages got slightly better by the time play actually ended. But it gives us a good idea of what to expect, right? About 4 birdies per round at both golf courses. And the bogey average is about 2 at Spyglass, right? Give or take, right? 0.2 right there. And almost 3 over there at Pebble Beach. So when we're entering props, the first things that stuck out to me was first off, were some overs on bogeys on guys at 1.5 bogeys, and they're playing Pebble Beach. So you had Rory McIlroy here is the main one I want to go over. So we're going to leave it to 1 bogey prop. We're going to take another prop and take a 2-man for an under here for the stream. But Rory McIlroy, first off, had a horrible back 9 and went well over this line on just 4 holes in a row on the back 9 alone. But on top of that, is not known as an elite bogey avoider. He's decent at bogey avoidance. I'd say he's above average. He's like near elite in that category, but he's not a Scotty Scheffler or a Patrick Cantlay out there at avoiding bogeys. He's playing the harder of the 2 golf courses, a 2.89 average, and I essentially project him for about 2.3 per round. So it's not a ton higher than this 1.5 projection, but it's high enough to warrant taking an over here. So, of course, if this was at 2 birdies, I would still be leaning towards the over with that 2.3 projection. But now that he only has to get you 2 to actually hit for us, it's still got a little bit of risk to it because you can get in a groove around Pebble, right? You're not hitting a lot of longer clubs. But you have tiny targets out there, and unless you're completely dialed in, I mean, you saw guys make 3-4 bogeys today. So Rory McIlroy, not known as a really good wedge player. Anytime he's playing Pebble Beach, I have my question marks about whether he's going to keep it together. And he played Spyglass, which I thought fit his game really well, and already had that blow up. So again, I respect Rory a lot more now. I was saying that before, about him like trashing Liv. I'm kind of retracting on that, being a little bit more honest, I think, with your average golf consumer. And I'm unfortunately going to be taking a bet against him tomorrow. So it's not personal. It's not because I hate Rory McIlroy. I used to kind of have a disdain for him for sure, but it's just because of the averages, right? He's a slightly better than average at Tour bogey avoider, but the average was like 2.9 per round. Like there's levels to this, right? So we've got that prop in, and then let's take another prop so we can boost this up a little bit, and I'll get actually over a 3x payout. So an over I took for birdies. Let's see if he's still at the same number, because obviously there might be a few bumps that happen, which is kind of to be expected with this stuff. But let's see, where is he at? I must have already gone over him. My apologies there. Where are you at, buddy? Eric Cole, yeah. So they bumped him from 4 to 4.5 birdies. So we probably don't want to take that. If we're going to take somebody at 4.5 birdies, I'd prefer taking a Max Homa. So Max Homa is playing Spyglass. So Rory Wright playing the slightly harder golf course in Spyglass Hill. Max Homa is playing, I should say in Pebble Beach, the harder golf course in Pebble Beach. There with Rory McIlroy. Max Homa is playing Spyglass, right? They played 1.6 shots under par. It was about a 4 birdie average for the field. Max Homa is an elite tier birdie maker, right? A top 10 birdie maker in this kind of field. Look at that. That got taken off the board live here. That's crazy. Max Homa, though, is an elite tier birdie maker that has to gain a birdie to the field, right, to go out there and cover. And on his preferred surface in POA, a golf course that he's played really well at in the past, I'm out there with Spyglass Hill, another player that's had a few ceiling rounds over there on the Spyglass side, as opposed to playing on Monterey Peninsula or over there at Pebble Beach. Is something that I like. So it took us over at 4.5 birdies. No comparison over there on Prize Picks, but a lot of your elite tier players playing Spyglass were at 5 birdies the last time I checked. So we're going to hop over to that side here in a minute. Let's see. Any Spyglass guys up for birdies? Yeah, so they've got Sanjay up at 4.5. Guys like Fitzpatrick, but look at this, right? Nobody, no Max Homa, right? Up there at 4.5. So I'd have to imagine if they had him up, they'd have him at 5 birdies, if anything. And over here in Underdog, where we can take that prop, is a spot that I like attacking. And let's see, did they bump up Rory to 2? If they did, I understand it. And heck, I'd still even lean over at 2. Yeah, you can see they bumped him up to 2. But I believe there are a few other guys at 1.5 bogeys. So it's not just, and I'm not gonna bet against Scotty. That's something that I don't do. I've learned my lesson before. Scotty Scheffler's built different. Betting against him is usually not a winning prospect. It's an over. We'll do this one on Cantlay. If you didn't catch the other one, Cantlay is an elite tier bogey avoider, but he's also coming off a ceiling round, and he has not played well the last 3 events. He's had a lot of blow up rounds out there. He's had a lot of really good rounds at events without shots gained metrics, on courses, I should say, without shots gained metrics. Or like at the Amex, he had a really good round at one of the courses that he didn't have the shot link at. So kind of like what he had today, right, on Spyglass. No shot length, where he's going to have no shots gained metrics out there to count for it. Shoots -8. Watch, he's going to go over here to Pebble. Now that we have the shots gained metrics, at least if it's following the trend from the last 3-4 tournaments, and go out there and completely tank, completely suck, right? So when people look at the shots gained record, they're going to be like, oh, Cantlay sucks, right? But they're not going to realize that all the rounds that aren't counting for shots gained are him gaining 6 strokes to the field, right? More than making up for all of those losses. If the universe follows that trend, this over is absolutely surgical. It's not why I took it. Again, right? Even for an elite tier bogey avoider, the average was 2.9 per round. It's nearly half this, right? Here at a 1.5 projection. So I like taking that over. Anytime you have a ceiling round, it's hard to back it up, which is also another reason that I think you could take this. The Max Homa one, I really like too. It might even bump at some point. And yeah, this Patrick Cantlay prop was something I posted on Patreon. So that one, I wouldn't surprise if that went up to 2 at some point here too. Let's see, any Rory stuff. Rory Shigan, yep, that's how it works. Value secured, right, getting it up to 2. PGA DFS is so tilting. Things can change so fast. it's tilting and it can go great so fast, right? I think right now my ROI, I did $750 in entries, 150 max, $5 entry there for that contest. And I think my ROI right now is like $300. I don't get worried until after round 2, especially with a course rotation, because right, there's guys that are going to play the easier course tomorrow. There's guys that played the harder course that maybe don't look as good right now. It can change real quick. We'll see. After round 2, right, you can start to get a little worried about that. They're probably watching right now. They might be. In the past, I used to call them out on here in case they were watching, but they probably have better things to do, right? At least the lines makers, because there's a trading team that does much of the bumping. The lines makers can adjust lines, right? Especially if they like do research and like find a reason to adjust like a whole board. But yeah, it would be like a big waste of time. Like they're not on the clock anymore. Like just stop that. On Prize Picks, do you like Cole and Pavon for less strokes? You like Dietrich over Clark and Kirk less than birdies are better? Yeah, let's take a look at Prize Picks. So I haven't entered anything on Prize Picks yet. The board came out too late, so let's take a look. Let's look at those matchups first. I'm going to change up the analysis. So let's look at it. You got Dietrich over Clark. I'm assuming that's one of these birdie matchups, right? So let's see. Where's that that guy at? Dietrich and Clark. Yeah, right here. This Dietrich over Clark matchup. That's probably not my favorite, just because I think Wyndham Clark's a better player. Obviously, Dietrich's playing better than Clark right now, and has been playing better for like the last 2-3 weeks. But I'd be a little hesitant on that one. So I'll just say I don't hate it. I don't love that one. And then the other one I'll say is Kirk less than for Burns. So you're taking Burns over Kirk. I definitely like that one. I'm assuming they're both playing the same golf course. So where's that one? Kirk, and it's under, right? Let's see. Yeah, so it's Kirk under over here. So you're taking Sam Burns to win. I agree with that completely. And in terms of the birdie averages, right, Sam Burns is a higher birdie average than Chris Kirk, at least in terms of your year-long stats in 2023. And just to make sure they're playing the proper golf courses, let me double check on that. So is this oh, we're looking at 2019. Let's bring up the current Pebble Beach Pro-Am, right? Let's do that. And we're looking for Kirk and Burns, making sure they're playing the proper golf course. Because if they are, I'm on board completely with you. So you got Spyglass Hill, and then Burns is, yeah, playing Spyglass. Yeah, sorry. Wait, let me make sure. Spyglass, and then... Yeah, we're good to go. Yep. I'm completely cool with that one. Yeah, taking the under and taking the Sam Burns side. All right, let's take a look at the other two things you had. So you had Cole and Pavon for less strokes, right? Under strokes. And I know Cole's playing Spyglass Hill. And what was he at? Like a 70 projection, Eric Cole? Or even better than that, actually. Where's Eric Cole at? Pavon's at the bottom. I know I saw that. 70.5 strokes. Where's Eric Cole at? I swear to God, I'm blind. Yeah, here it's 70 strokes. I would lean under on Eric Cole. I wish it was at 70.5. It was at 70.5, and he just had to gain strokes to the field to go out there and cover. I would feel really good about it, right? For him to cover this, he has to gain a stroke and a half to the field. If he gains a half stroke to the field, he does push this. So I feel pretty safe about that, right? Him going out there and pushing at a 70. It's just whether he has enough over equity to like warrant playing it. I would say that it probably does. So I would be okay with taking that under. And then your other one here with Pavon at 70.5, that one worries me a little bit more. Pavon isn't a proven prospect. In fact, his game doesn't really stand out to me as somebody that I think is going to stick, right? As like a top 50 player. I think he's the kind of guy who like wins, maybe gets hot for a few weeks, and then probably goes away for a long time. I'd prefer taking the Eric Cole one, right? Like taking your studs, the guys that are very consistent, right? That have made a bunch of cuts on the PGA Tour. I'd prefer that for the prop side. I hate kind of chasing these hot commodities like a Matthew Pavon, right? That kind of just pop up for a week or two because when they fall off, it's usually a pretty drastic fall off. And I would kind of throw Thomas Dietrich into that same bucket, right? I know you were potentially considering taking him before. That's part of the reason I wasn't so thrilled about that because, you know, he's been hot, right? He played well last week. But these players aren't known as like consistent world killers, right? Like they'll have their hot rounds, they'll try and take advantage of them, but to expect them to do that all 4 days, is usually doesn't happen, right? They're not on the level of somebody as like a Scotty Scheffler, Roy McIlroy. He'll go out there and just be a world killer for 4 straight days. You see a little bit of regression to the mean for a lot of those type of players. So that would be my only hesitation there. In terms of what I want to take over here on Prize Picks, let's see if we can cook something up. It looked like they had a little bit of a better board when it came to strokes, at least on a few players, especially when it came to this mid-tier range. It felt like they had guys like Cole at like 69.5. Let me just double check on that to see if that's accurate. Let's see. Yeah, they've got him at 70 strokes, so he's the same across both boards. But I know there were a few discrepancies that favored the Prize Pick side. So let's go ahead and see if we can find those. Brian Harman might be one of them. Yeah, they've got him at 70 strokes. He's at 70.5 over here on Prize Picks. So playing Pebble Beach, which is the more difficult of the two golf courses, did play a stroke under par. So if Brian Harman were to cover this, right, he'd have to gain a stroke to the field. Well, just some quick math. So I'm going to go over here on Data Golf and look at their shots gained distribution and give you an idea for exactly how much he gains a stroke to the field. It's behind their paywall, so I'm going to keep it off the screen here while I do this. But let's see, how often does he gain a stroke to the field? And this is just going to be in PGA Tour events out here for Brian Harman. So bear with me while I find this. Okay, it'll only take a second. So Brian Harman gains, we're on the wrong tab. Got to bring up distribution. Okay, so Brian Harman gains a stroke to the field, or gains strokes to the field 61% of the time. He'll gain strokes to the field. So if it's going to be a 1 under par average, right, for him to gain strokes to the field, he's going to have to get to 2 under par. Does that 61% of the time, which if you compare it to other guys in his salary range, in terms of like DFS plays, he's got the second highest rate. The only higher rate over they're using the last 36 rounds is Adam Scott at 75%. So pretty wild if you ask me. Player that's very consistent and at least going to go in the shopping cart. I'm not sure if we're going to take him for the under, but he's at least going to go in the shopping cart. For a little bit of line shopping, we can go over here in Draftkings, right? Do a little bit of line comparison. What do they have Brian Harman at? 70.5, he's juiced over. Interesting. Okay, so they've actually got the juice going the other direction. Let's see what we've got here on FanDuel. So still slightly juiced over, but not as much juice, right? Towards the over at 70.5. So maybe not my favorite play, right? I always kind of prefer the ones that have that plus EV angle to them, but we'll keep it in the shopping cart just in case. We'll probably find something better here in just a few minutes. But in terms of trying to find a few plays, Sahith at 70.5, right off a hot round. A lot of times he's a kind of streaky player, so I don't hate that. The Eric Cole call from before, I don't hate that whatsoever. We're going to try and find something ourselves here, though. Let's see. Cam Young playing Pebble, right? He's got to gain a stroke to the field to push that. The guys on Spyglass, like I prefer to take some unders. They've gone down here at 69.5 strokes. And if we go over here and compare to DraftKings, I don't believe it's the best odds, right? So Homa, for example, right, is even money odds. Xander, though, is juiced towards the under, right? He's minus 130 over here on FanDuel. Xander's minus 140, I believe. Yeah, right. Minus 140 for this under 69.5 strokes. So if you're going to take one of these Spyglass guys, which I think I prefer this golf course, right? Because it's going to be a little bit more protected from that wind if we end up getting it tomorrow. That will take him. So let's go ahead and take him. I mean, we could go with Max Homa, right? He's at the very least even money on the sports books. What is he on FanDuel? I don't think I checked that before. He's even money there too. I mean, that's not the worst odds, right? I mean, even money, I slightly disagree with that. I think he should probably be juiced a little bit towards the under, but let's throw that in the shopping cart. I like that a little bit more than the Harman prop. We could take Colin Morikawa. I have a feeling that this one's going to be juiced under for us. Let's see. Actually, it's juiced over. That's a little bit surprising. Let's see if FanDuel agrees. And I use these two because they're the quickest with the odds. Some of the other sites that post golf odds just take a little bit more time. You can look at Bet365 too. They're usually pretty quick with it as well. But let's find a better prop. Tony Finau, right? Trying to ride that hot ball striking. I don't think that's the worst idea. Let's see where they have Tony Finau. Probably juiced over 69.5. So they have actually got him at 70.5, but juiced way under. That's pretty expected. I could have seen him at 69.5 and juiced over, but they put him at 70.5. Decided to juice him for the under. Who else could we take? I am curious to see where they've got Thigala. So they've got him at 70.5 and juiced over. Okay. Good data point to know. And we could just go with these two, right? We could just, my gut tells me that Max Homa is going to be a smash play tomorrow. Again, that ball striking, that putting on Poa is normally on point. And the one thing I'll say about Spyglass is that it's got some length to it, right? You've got some longer holes, but if you're a bomber and you can hit some fairways out there, you're just going to have darts all day. The greens are absolute soup over there. The ball was just sticking in place. Pebble still had a little bit of bounce, especially in the fairway. You had a little bit more bounce on the link soil. Spyglass Hill is not meant to be played in soupy conditions like we have. In fact, they're playing it because we wouldn't be able to get this tournament done in time if they had any sort of delays out there for rounds 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and just enter this. My limit on Prize Picks, this is wild. I can't even enter a $20 slip. So if I wanted to go over here, take these two unders and enter a $20 slip, I can't. I know it's blocked over there in the top right. It's because I have a $15 limit. It is absolutely ridiculous. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll take our $15 slip over there on Prize Picks. Luckily, not the only place I can get exposure over here in Prize Picks, and that's all I'm going to say on that front before I get fined, as Marshawn Lynch would say. Let's go back over here to Underdog. I only did a little brief look at the board. I'll put in my 5-man slip before we got on stream here. Let's see if we can find any other value that we can enter here that I haven't already gone to myself. So I know we already went over the one slip, so if you're still around here with my prop guys, let's dive in. I know I'm already over time. I already said I had to go at 9, but we'll stay here for another 8 minutes. Then we'll hop on off. Let's see. Any weather advantages tomorrow with the higher winds? I wouldn't say that we're going to get higher winds. It was blowing 17, 18 miles an hour out there. So we'll go to HRRR. I'll refresh this for you guys. Get the pin right there on Pebble Beach Golf Links. So if we look at this, put this with the HRRR model, you'll see that on Friday, actually the wind forecast changed 24 minutes ago. So we got this to update like live on stream. Wind forecast is actually lower out there for round 2 than what you had for round 1. So I would say it's going to play very similar. I would expect there still to be some wind out there. They were saying that there's like some type of atmospheric river coming through the Pebble Beach area, which is going to lead to a lot of rain and high winds. And they said that's going to last for the entire weekend. So they said it's going to be very predictable. We're going to get rain all 4 days and that it's going to be pretty blustery out there. The fact that this just changed and now we have the slightly lower sustained winds is kind of surprising, right? Maybe that happens tomorrow. I'd be fine with it. It helped quite a few of our picks out there for props. But yeah, not higher winds. I wouldn't say that. I would say it'll be pretty similar to what we got day 1. That's what I'm expecting at least. They're calling for it to actually be a little bit calmer, but I still think you'll see some wind out there. In terms of what we're looking at over here in Underdog, though, I'm going to try and find a few more props that are some value. Victor Hovland is playing Pebble Beach, I believe. He could be a potential look for over 1.5 bogeys. I know I mentioned trying to find something else to enter. That could be a look. I still like Victor this week, right? I bet him outright. It's actually one of my higher exposed plays. But kind of like Rory Cantlay, right? He makes his fair share of bogeys. Like he's not immune to going out there and making a mistake or two. So I kind of don't want to play it though, because of selfishly, right? I'm sweating him so much this week. He is an elite tier bogey avoider, right? So if you had to think of a reason not to take that, I guess it would be the fact that, kind of like Cantlay, he is elite at avoiding them, but it's a lot easier for me to fade Cantlay than it was a Victor Hovland. So maybe I don't enter that one. There's a bunch of other props that we can take here. The par 5s were very favorable to us in round 1. The one I gave on stream yesterday, unfortunately, did not hit, right? I didn't enter that myself. So was not part of my pain, but I feel for everyone on stream that unfortunately took that. Tom Kim just sold with the putter. He had an eagle putt. It ended up 3-putting for a par. He missed a sub 7-footer for birdie on another hole. And he hooked it at 19 on his 18.5 projection. So that stung, of course, especially for everyone out there that had that. But they still have guys up at 18.5. And the guys I took in my exposure were Tony Finau and Sun JM. Tony Finau had 17 strokes, right? So he went under by 1.5. And Sun JM only had 16. He birdied all 4 par 5s out there. So if we can find guys at 18.5 strokes that are playing Pebble Beach for round 2, I think that's worth exploring, right? So like, for example, Sahith Theegala, right, is playing Pebble Beach. I know that for certain. And the par 5s at Pebble played a lot easier than the par 5s at Spyglass. Just to show you, let's go through this. So Pebble Beach, right, hole 2, minus 0.58. Hole number 6, minus 0.53, right? That's 1.11 under par right there. Another par 5, 14, right? 1.11 under par, that's to 1.66 under par, right? Out there through the first 3. 18 wasn't as much under par, but it's still 1.74 shots under par, right? That's crazy for Pebble Beach. I think that'll improve with the field strength over there for the next round. I mean, the ones on Spyglass still played well under par, so let's find them. So hole number 1, minus 0.15. Next one we've got is minus 0.4, so minus 0.55 so far. Minus 0.6, so minus 1.15. And then another 0.15, so minus 1.3. Right, so this played minus 1.3, which is still well under par, but not the minus 1.7, right, that we had for Pebble Beach, which probably is not going to change out there for the next round. So if we're going to take some unders, I know Sahith is playing over there. What course is Brian Harman playing? It's hard to remember all these off the top of my head. So Harman's going to be playing Pebble. That's going to be a potential lean, right? All he has to do is gain strokes to the field on the par 5s, and Brian Harman, very surprisingly, is really good on par 5s. And let me tell you, yeah, Brian Harman played Spyglass Hill. I could have sworn he was playing Pebble, but I guess he played Spyglass. Just to double check that, let me bring up. For some reason, I feel like he played the other golf course. So I'm bringing up the PGA site, which will 100% be correct. To double check this, let's see. Bring it up on your end so you're not just staring at my face. Let's see. Brian Harman. Did he play Spyglass? Are they capping? Yeah, he did play Spyglass. So they weren't capping out there? Okay, that's good to know. Getting him on Pebble Beach with those kind of conditions is going to be good for that prop. Let's see. Any other par 5 props we can take? Tony Finau is going to be playing the Spyglass course. Same thing with Tom Kim. So maybe we avoid those. Kind of surprisingly, right? Spyglass played easier overall, but had the harder par 5s. Let's see, Poston. What course was my boy JT on? The real JT. JT Poston was on Spyglass, so he could be a possible consideration at under 18.5. Let's see who else we can take. Tommy Fleetwood, Xander Schauffele. Xander Schauffele is playing Spyglass. Tommy Fleetwood is, I believe, playing Pebble Beach. Double check that. I think he shot like 1 under. Let's just type it in. I'm too blind to try and look through the leaderboard. Yeah, he's going to be playing Pebble Beach. Eric Cole is going to be playing Spyglass. Justin Rose is Pebble Beach. So there are a bunch of guys that we could take at 18.5. What we're going to do afterwards is we're going to figure out which ones are the best. So we're going to go to the par 5 scoring from last year and find the ones that were the top ranked. Sam Burns is also, I believe, over there in Pebble Beach. And the added bonus is going to be driving distance, right? We want guys that are long off the tee if we're going to take them for this. Homa is Spyglass. I know that. Ricky is Pebble. Ricky might be a pretty good par 5 scorer. So if we were going to take somebody out of here, I guess it would be Justin Rose. Let's throw in, we're going to just get our top 5 and then research these. Let's see. Keegan, I believe he's also Pebble Beach, but I want to double check that. Yeah, he's also going to be playing at Pebble. I feel like he's a good par 5 scorer. So let's take JT Poston out and put him in there. Not for bogeys, right? For our par 5s. Come on, click the right thing there. Where else? So Corey Connors, he's pretty good at par 5s. Matt Fitzpatrick is playing Spyglass. Colin Morikawa is playing Pebble, right? No, he's playing Spyglass. That's right. Let's double check that. Oh, so many players. Yeah, he's playing Spyglass. Okay, my instincts were right there. Kirk, I'm not going to take for par fives. Hogarth's playing Spy. Actually, he's playing Pebble. That might be a look. So I like the fact that he's a bomber, and Brian Harmon's not a bomber. So we're going to go ahead and sub him in there. Wyndham Clark's also a bomber out there playing Pebble Beach. Just to confirm that Hogarth's playing. Let's do that. So Hogard, is he going to be playing Pebble? He is. And then who was the other one? We had Wyndham Clark, who I'm 99% sure is playing Pebble Beach. Yeah, he'll be playing Pebble Beach. So if we want to make this all bombers, we could go like this. We could put Ricky back in. Ricky looked really good in round one. Wouldn't throw it past him to go out there and take apart these par fives. And then we have Jordan down there who's playing Pebble Beach. But he's at 18 and Victor's down to 18. Next we're going to do is let me bring up actually we already had PGA Tour site up, so I didn't need to stop sharing my screen. Let's figure out which ones were the best at par 5 scoring, right? So going to go over here, go to scoring on the PGA site. We're going to go to par 5s and then go to last year. So par 5 scoring average. We do not give a rat's ass about what they've done in 2024 in like 3 events. So we're going to go back here to 2022, 2023. Get a full year sample size to work with. So what we're going to try and find here are the top 2 out of this list of 5 that we have. So let's see. Let's just scroll down. We'll probably find them quick, right? So Wyndham Clark's at number 8. He's definitely going to be one of the 2 that we take. Let's see. Who else is on the list? Matt Fitzpatrick's there, but he's on the wrong golf course. Xander, right? He's at like 18 or he's on the wrong course, one of those 2 things. And then Ricky Fowler. So surprisingly, the 2 players that are probably playing the worst are the 2 that came up. So I'm going to find the 2 next ones as like backup. So we've got Tommy Fleetwood, who's the next one that shows up. There's Brian Harman, right? I mentioned that he's actually pretty good on par 5s. And then Nikolai Hogard. Okay. So the one that didn't show up was Sam Burns. So I guess we got to take Sam Burns out of there, which is a little bit disappointing. And I guess it's choosing between the guys that are long-term playing better, right? And guys like Clark and Ricky Fowler, or the guys that recently have been playing better, right? Tommy Fleetwood or Nikolai Hogard. I'm not going to enter all 4 of these in the same slip, right? And go because it's just too much of a ding in terms of correlation. I don't like the payout as much. But we might be able to do a 3-man, but definitely we could do a 2-man of these unders. Let me see. So it's hard to really split these because, like, right, the average is going to be like something like 18.3 strokes, right? If it's going to play to what it did round 1, and it's soft out there. So I do want guys that are bombers. The thing that really combines both is Hogard's a bomber and, right, he's somebody that's playing well of late. So I'm going to take Hogard as one for sure. And the issue is whether we're going to take Fleetwood, Clark, or Fowler. So if you have a thought down below, if you have one that you think that you'd like the most, go ahead, throw it down in chat. I'm willing to take suggestions from you guys as we go through a few questions here. So if you have a hot take on which 3 that you would take for an under 18.5, let me know down in the chat. See, so we got Rob Hill says Xander bounce back. I think so. Playing on the easier golf course, also low owned for Showdown. I think he's at the very least a good leverage piece, right? If you're looking to get a little different up top, he fits that, and he's an elite tier player, right? All these guys can bounce back. Dunlop versus Bezainhu in a rivals matchup. That's interesting, right? Dunlop obviously played horribly round 1. You got him going against Seabez. I would lean Seabez there just because, right, Dunlop did not look very good. The putter in particular for Dunlop was horrible. Unders at 18.5 look nice. Yeah, spot on, right? So you probably mentioned that before I went into them here on stream. I think they look good. What's your favorite, Sean? Do you have one that you like the most that you're taking? Because I'm trying to find a pairing here for good old Nikolai Hogard. I feel like he's the best play. How did Clark play today? Like Ricky looked good today, right? I feel like if anything, we can take Ricky because he played pretty well in round 1. But how did Clark play? I feel like Clark didn't play well. Didn't see him on any coverage, right? Oh, I saw him, right? He was +1 there, wasn't he? Or was he even worse? Yeah, no, +1 for Wyndham. Actually, even par, I should say, for Wyndham Clark. He made 1, 2, 3, 4 birdies on the par 5s. He played them even par. Ooh. So didn't do a very good job of them. Of course, it's a different golf course, right? So I don't know how much we hold it against him. Whereas Ricky Fowler, and again, this is probably unfair to look at, or because it's just a one round sample size. how did he play the par five? So 1 under par, 2 under par, 3 under par. I went out there, played him in 17 strokes. If we're just looking at the round one stuff, right, it's pretty obvious that's going to be a Ricky Fowler. But Wyndham Clark long term is the best of all of these guys at par five scoring. Right? He's number 8 on tour. It's hard to overlook. So Tommy Fleetwood would be the only reason we'd take him is we'd be scared of like the form over the last month for somebody like a Clark or Fowler. But I think those three are our best choice. But let's see. Any thoughts down there? Damn. So Chad doesn't have any thoughts. I'm probably gonna go with my gut and take Ricky. So let's do that. Let's take Ricky Fowler. Take him for an under the 18.5 cumulative strokes. A lot of that because of how he played in round one. Also, a lot of that because of how well he plays on par fives in general. And the scoring average was 18.3. So these sort of players, Hogard, right, Fowler, that are better than average in the field, right, are going to project a little bit better than that field average, which is already under this sort of projection. So let's go ahead and lock it in. It's a little gimmicky, I would say. Right, this is only paying 2.8x, 8.4x, I should say, in terms of a payout, but it's good enough for me to take it over here on the live stream. So a little bit of a bonus action we did with that, but I think that's all we're going to do for the live stream here, guys. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in as you guys usually do. Go ahead, smash that like button on the way out of here, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the content throughout the weekend. We're going live for rounds 3 and 4, probably at night, just like we had here for round 2. So for anyone in the morning that can check it out, or you can watch it on replay, and of course for anyone that's watching it at night, which probably, you know, a lot of our night crew, right, stays up a little bit later, doesn't wake up as early. You guys can get your content in as well. So I wanted to cater to both sides. When we're on the East Coast, we're not going to have any choice but to do night streams. So probably best to get used to it here at some point. So that's all I've got. Again, I appreciate all the support here as per usual. And let's have ourselves a round 2.